Here we see data from a real-life investigation conducted using Perseus. As a terrible early Christmas gift, the server we're looking at was infected with ransomware on Christmas Eve. The malware employed anti-forensic techniques on disk, irretrievably wiping Windows event logs and securely deleting its malicious files in an unrecoverable manner. Perseus had never been run on the server prior to the investigation, and there were no endpoint security products present to provide us with forensic data around the time of the incident. But the server had backup data we could leverage to conduct a thorough investigation with Perseus. Perseus processed both the backed up data and the current state of the system to build a timeline of what took place, and we see that timeline on the new Recollection Dashboard. Here you see buttons for every type of forensic data collected by Perseus, which includes persistence data, evidence of execution, user activity, file and folder access artifacts, new USB and network connections, and various other registry and file system modifications. When there's a magnifying glass icon inside the button, it indicates that there's at least one event of that type in the time interval we've selected with the slider below. Because we know the ransomware incident took place on Christmas Eve, we start by focusing our investigation on events that took place around that time. As we move the slider, you'll notice the connections magnifying glass disappears, indicating there were no USB devices inserted during the time interval we've currently selected. This allows us to rule out infection via a USB device as the root cause of the ransomware on the server. As we continue to get closer to the date of the incident, you'll notice the persistence magnifying glass disappears as well, indicating no new persistence was established within months of the attack. This allows us to immediately determine there was no persistent payload installed as part of this ransomware attack. We'll take a look at events that occurred within a month of our incident. We can optionally zoom in on this interval to have more precise control when using the slider. We quickly see the most recent events that took place are specific to user 1. Even though the event logs were wiped from the system, we can still see user login activity that Perseus extracted from the SAM registry hive. User 1 logged in on December 24th and only has 3 total logins over the life of the server. It's also worth noting that just 1 second before the successful login, there was a failed login. The low number of total logins suggests the user 1 account may be infrequently used. We can corroborate this by looking at file access events for the user. All of the events took place on December 24th, and the number of shellbag and recent doc events is much lower than we'd expect for an account in active use. When asked, the owner confirmed this account wasn't actively used on the server and should not have been logged in on the 24th. The combination of no recent USB device usage, no new persistence, and an infrequently used account unexpectedly logging in led us to suspect the user account was remotely accessed by the attacker. The failed login only a second before the successful one is consistent with a brute force RDP hack of the user's credentials. When asked, the owner confirmed the password for that account was weak and would be susceptible to a brute force attack. Even though the attacker had wiped the event logs to remove evidence of their RDP connection, we were still able to identify a pattern of activity consistent with the remote access of an insecure account in order to determine the root cause of the breach. Next, we wanted to assess the scope of the attack. We see suspiciously named files like rics.exe, which appear to be polymorphic. But we also see recognizable utilities like Process Hacker, PC Hunter, and most alarmingly, Mimikatz. Those unfamiliar with Mimikatz can click on the entry to launch a Google search, revealing it's a tool frequently used by hackers to steal user credentials. Not only do we see proof of Mimikatz executing, we also see evidence of its completion with the access of the Mimikatz log file. This means other credentials on the system may have been compromised. And because we see evidence that a port scanner was run as well, this made it critical to conduct investigations on other computers in the network to see if they were accessed using the compromised credentials. Even though all of the malicious files were wiped from the system, Perseus gave us the information we needed to determine that it wasn't simply enough to restore the backups to this particular server. To fully recover from this incident, we needed to verify that there was no successful lateral movement within the network, and that the passwords on the compromised accounts were changed to prevent further access by the attacker. Perseus provides this information by processing the critical forensic data found in a number of locations like Shimcache, User Assist, and Shellbags, and without relying on any third-party tools. And this information is provided to analysts right inside of Splunk so they can efficiently carry out their investigations from a single pane of glass. The new Recollection Dashboard is one more way Perseus is designed to save analysts time.